Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our spoiler-free review for Coyote versus Acme. Beep, beep. What's up, Doc, and welcome to the Geekcentric podcast. My name is Nate, and this is our spoiler-free review for Coyote versus Acme, a giant anvil-sized thanks to our friends at VVS Films Canada for inviting us to watch this movie early for review. If you're joining us for the first time, we are Geekcentric, a podcast celebrating the world of movies, TV shows, video games, and all things Geekcentric. Of course, if I tried to review this movie on my own, well, I'd probably just have everything blow up in my face, just like that Wile E. Coyote. So to help me lawyer up, please welcome my own personal injury attorneys. He's the judicial, jury jousting, jalopy justifying judge who's literally got law in his name. He's Justin, the justice loving Lawrence, or Lawrence.
Lawrence, there you go. That's like double like the word count on that, right? So
you think you'd do well in court, like with a name like that, right?
No, I'm sure like my promos would do really, really well.
Oh, there we go.
You know,
he'd be a great billboard guy.
Yeah, I have a billboard name.
Perfect.
You know, Justin Lawrence. Law is in his name. You know what I mean?
Come on. I'd hire you. But listen, falling from the sky through a big puff of smoke way up high, he's the daffy, death-defying, duly noted devil dog defendant, Darcy, the hare with the hair Hudson. How you doing?
Doing good. I mean, I have gotten that nickname before in terms of Looney Tune in my hair, the big red guy. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's I like to think of us as we're all different kinds of cartoons. Would we be cartoons in this world, or do you think we'd be humans?
I think we would be humans.
Yeah. I'm human right now, so I'm assuming in this universe where humans exist, I'd still be human.
I think I'd be
that would
aspirational.
be my logic as well.
I'd be an aspirational cartoon. Like I'm a human that wants to be a cartoon, because who doesn't want to be a freaking cartoon, man?
I feel like
they're
that's
immortal and you can't be destroyed. I mean, I take that.
That's
think.
pretty good.
Sure.
That's pretty good.
Sure. I wonder though what you would call those kinds of people. You know? Like, what are those groupies?
Sure.
Like, who are those people that are like
furries,
so
but
fascinated?
like what, toonies?
Exactly.
Toonies?
Yeah,
Maybe.
Toonies. Yeah.
I like
yeah.
Toonies.
Okay. And in
Like,
Canada, it works even better.
exactly. And like they have like this whole group where they like try to hit each other with like anvils and stuff like that, and be like, "Come on, you're a cartoon. You just got to take it.
Just believe."
Yeah, exactly.
like
Believe.
this.
You got to believe. It's all about believing.
We
And
just
then-
wrote the sequel, guys. It's crazy. It's crazy. Listen, I'm so stoked to be back in the world of Looney Tunes. Before we get into this review, I want to ask each of you, what is your relationship with Looney Tunes?
I feel like most people growing up in the 90s, they have a strong connection to it because it's one of those things that our parents watched when they were growing up and wanted to pass on the thing that they liked so much. So Looney Tunes is one of the first things my dad showed me right after Gumby. So I've had a strong love for Looney Tunes for a long time, and seeing them back on the big screen, it's nice, especially when it works so well like this one, unlike that sequel that we don't like to talk about.
Yeah, no, we don't need to bring that up, but to go from Gumby to Looney Tunes, it's a pretty natural progression. If you've seen Gumby, there's quite a bit of slapstick humor in that one. Justin, how about yourself? What is your relationship with the tunes?
When I was a kid, every Sunday at 5 p.m., they would do an hour of Looney Tunes
sick
shows. And it was obviously like past episodes, right? It wasn't
Yeah.
new stuff. It wasn't until like, Tiny Toons came around, and then there was a lot of like resurgence of all of that. And then, we got New Bugs and so on and so forth, and Space Jam and, all of that stuff. I've loved Looney Tunes. I probably identified with Looney Tunes more than Disney at that time.
Wow.
And I was like watching a lot more of that type of cartoon stuff than I was watching like Mickey Mouse or anything like that. Cause all that stuff was like really reserved for like privileged kids who had satellites and Disney Channel shit. So I it wasn't as accessible.
Who could
but
you
Looney
possibly
Tunes,
be talking about?
yeah, I know. Jeez, the guy who wants to be a cartoon. But yeah, like I feel like Looney Tunes was far more accessible. Yeah, it was those Sunday nights or like before dinner, I would watch an hour of Looney Tunes and then have dinner. It was like clockwork every Sunday. I would like turn it on, didn't matter where I was. I would watch it and it would just be all those classic episodes. Some of them were often very, were repeated.
Yeah.
But it was great to like see some of the callbacks in this and to kind of know some of those callbacks based on those past episodes. So yeah, it's that would be about how I would describe my relationship with it.
Yeah, I think the reruns, I think for at least as long as we've all been alive, have been constant. It's like a constant thing, and I think Looney Tunes are such a big part of just pop culture in general. I think there's so many. If you've watched most animated projects, you've probably seen some reference to Looney Tunes. And I think for me, I can't remember the first time that I saw them, but I do remember, definitely playing some of the Super Nintendo games with Looney Tunes in them was a blast on Game Boy. But I think the most pivotal moment for me was Space Jam, which, I think this movie does continue that tradition of that mix of animation and live action. And we're kind of seeing that, kind of come back these days, which is really cool. And for me at the time, seeing Space Jam, it was quite a trip because I had never seen Roger Rabbit. I'd never heard of Roger Rabbit. I think I probably saw Jessica Rabbit, but I don't know if I ever knew what that was from. And so for me, seeing this Space Jam film, my mind was blown, and kind of getting to the McDonald's toys of it all, I think is really where it started to really cement itself in my life. But yeah, let's get into this movie, starting with the synopsis. After decades of being blown to bits by bombs, demolished by dynamite, mangled by magnets, battered by boulders, trampled by trains, tricked by tunnels, sprung by springs, steamrolled by steamrollers, maligned by misfires, bedeviled by bungees, rattled by rockets, backstabbed by bat suits, rocked by rocket skates, upended by unicycles, quacked by quake pills, rubberized by rogue bands, and hurled headlong off every cliff in the Southwest, Wile E. Coyote finally fights back. Teaming up with Billboard accident lawyer Kevin Avery, he takes on slick corporate counsel Buddy Crane and Acme Incorporated, the profit-obsessed conglomerate behind every one of the Coyote's chaotic catastrophes. Huge kudos to whoever wrote that film synopsis, because that is incredible. As somebody who likes to use some little, wordplay in their intros. Yeah, kudos to you. The film stars Will Forte, Lana Condor, John Cena, PJ Byrne, Tone Bell, Martha Kelly, and Louise Guzman, as well as the voices of pretty much most of the cartoon characters in this film, done by Eric Bauza, Jim Cummings, and Candy Milo. It's directed by Dave Green with a story by Sammy Birch, James Gunn, and Jeremy Slater. And the movie is released exclusively and finally in theaters on August 28th, 2026. So let's start this off, obviously bringing up the Space Jam of it all, and the mix of traditional or 2D animation, a little bit of 3D animation, and live action. Darcy, starting with yourself, what do you think of the look and feel of Coyote versus Acme?
Well, every time we see cartoons enter the real world, I feel like it gets better with each iteration. I mean, the last time I could think of it being Chip and Dale Rescue Ranger. Like, that movie was fantastic, and the way they looked was so great. And this takes it even further, where it's using 3D models, obviously, for these cartoon characters, but managing to nail the cartoon looks so they still look 2D in this 3D world, which looks incredible. And just the way that humans can interact with things now is so much more seamless than that Space Jam, where you could see floating fingers or, some lines kind of cutting through. This is just, when you pick up a cartoon mallet, you're holding exactly that, and there's no cut through or anything like that. It looks incredible. So yeah, this is one of the best looking cartoons in real world that we've seen so far.
Yeah, I remember back to those thinking of Space Jam, or even just like the Space Jam sequel. There were definitely moments where you're like, it feels like they're not looking right at them, and I never felt that in this. Justin, what did you think about the look and feel of Coyote versus Acme?
Yeah, the tech has gotten a lot better. It also is quite apparent that this isn't green screen. They shot on location for a majority of this, and how they got around to actually doing that, I'm sure, is like tennis balls and objects that are there that are then obviously masked out after. But I'll never get over how cool it is to see animated characters and cartoon moments come to life in live action worlds, like we were talking about, and even just vice versa, if you will. It may not be as groundbreaking at this point, but it's just getting more refined. Do you know what I mean? It's getting better, as you guys were talking about. But it's done really, really well, and it's still a joy to watch altogether. But it does feel very reminiscent to all the other versions that have done it. Do you know what I mean? In that, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Space Jam, the most recent being Chip and Dale, but again, just really refined. But I think the biggest thing is that committing to that aesthetic isn't just a visual like gimmick. It's to serve the story, right? And I think that's really what this is all about. Like I think Space Jam was a bit of a gimmick in many cases to a degree, but this definitely feels more like this is happening for a very specific reason to help influence this story. So that collision between cartoon logic and real world just really creates a space where the movie can be ridiculous but still be heartfelt and just also surprisingly human all at once. So yeah. I think that's the sort of beauty of bringing that aesthetic together to help inform and impact the story, rather than it just being a gimmick or a stylistic approach.
Yeah. And I wholeheartedly agree with you there. And I think from the standpoint of the way that this movie makes you feel, like I felt like I was watching a movie that was from like the 90s. Do you know what I mean? And and a lot of that really did come through the musical score for this, composed by Stephen Price, who has done music for like Gravity, Baby Driver, a few other films. But he does this thing where the music is kind of very classic Looney Tunes adventure style music, and just the way that they shoot this, the whole idea of them, like the movie opens up to like a top secret organization sort of chase, if you will, and just the way that sort of whimsical string section comes through really, really made me feel like I'm watching a movie out of time. There's a lot of explosions in this movie as well, and I really, really dug how we got a great mix of digital and practical effects in this to go along with the cartoon animation, which is just incredible. But the fact that they're able to pull off these effects that just like at no point in time was I pulled out of this world, even though there's like crazy, stupid, silly things happening. Things are getting bent and lifted and manipulated in very cartoon ways.
Cartoon physics. Yeah.
I love that. I love that this world is embracing cartoon physics. It's like no human here. Like there's a moment where I think something like a piano falls on something or someone, and people are just like walking down the street. They're just not even looking at it. They're like, oh, yeah, okay, another Tuesday over here in Albuquerque. So I really, really, really love that. That's the world that we're in.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on the mention of like a 90s genre, because you're absolutely right. I think what stood out to me is it sort of felt like one of those typical 90s mismatch buddy movies. You know what I mean? So like, where it's because like obviously we have Will Forte and Wile E. Coyote, like they are so mismatched, and like leaning into that is like courtroom satire of it all. Like it's very interesting. It's a really great story about like just an underdog, right, taking on a giant corporation, and that feels very 90s in its way. So like, yeah, I like that idea that like the music is kind of meant to sort of put you in that era along with this story. So yeah, it was a great call out.
Yeah. And I also want to just shout out the use of making Acme what it is in this universe, right? Like we've always known Acme before. We know that that's where this stuff comes from, but I don't know if we've ever fully explored the Acme Corporation to this level. The fact that they're a mega corporation that makes everything. They're making phones, they're making fridges, they're making cars. they're making
Today,
MacBooks.
yeah.
And like,
yeah,
Well,
today, they were always like that though, right?
That's
like
always been the joke in the
Yeah.
shorts, though, too, is
Yeah.
that if you needed a product that they needed to order from, you order it from Acme, and that was just kind of their cop out. Like we can't name a regular brand, so let's just make up our own, and it makes everything. And that's the joke that just has been perpetuated in this universe, and it's so funny how that has become like the mega company that we see in across multiple companies in our world, but it's just Acme in this one. And it's
because there's no mention of
well.
any other companies at all, right?
No.
Like everything is just Acme. Like the phone is Acme. It's not an iPhone,
no,
right? Like it's an Acme phone, right?
it's not a MacBook, it's an AcBook.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Probably.
Well, maybe it's an Acme book, probably.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I do feel like it's always been there, but like obviously as evolution has happened for these cartoons, the corporation has obviously evolved as well, taking on new things. But yeah, it was pretty wild when they were like showing Apple Watches and iPhones.
They were
and
pretty
laptops.
much just Apple Watches.
No, they were, but that's what they're going for, right? Like
Yeah.
they're basically they are the Apple of their universe, if you will.
Yeah.
So
There's the Apple, the Home Depot, the grocery store, literally everything
exactly.
you
They're
need.
literally everything. The Costco, the
Yeah.
Home Depot, they're literally everything all rolled into one. And I think that's sort of the irony of it all, right?
And let's get to talking about the collective of people who take them on and defend them, and get into some of these performances and characters. We're going to start with Will Forte as Kevin Avery. I think he is so perfect in this role. Justin, what did you think of Will in this movie?
Yeah, he's great. Like it's not just because he's funny. He really leans into playing Kevin as a guy who is just content with putting in the smallest possible effort into anything. Like Kevin is just comfortable, like just getting by. He doesn't want to strive for anything more because, in his experience, ambition only leads to, more problems, if you will, right?
Yeah.
It's just, it brings more. So that makes for an interesting contrast to Wile E. Coyote, like a character who is always trying and will never give up no matter how many times he fails. So like he's obviously stopped trying because he's afraid of what effort might cost him. Like that's clear in sort of Kevin's demeanor. And I think he does that really, really well. Like he plays that sort of no, I don't want to get involved into this, like really well. And he does it with a lot of humor and heart as well at times.
This role is like clearly written for him, it feels like, because it's so close to so many of his other characters, or maybe that's just what he brought to it when he read the script. Whatever it was a match made in heaven, because he fits this cartoon world so well and playing the straight man to someone like Wile E. Again, coming from that idea of him being the underachiever and the one who never gives up, is just it leads to a great dynamic of just jokes landing every time. We talked about how, or me and Nate were talking back on the drive back, that a lot of the jokes just work throughout this movie, and I think a lot of it, he's nailing almost all his deliveries, Will Forte, and it's just because his deadpan humor, or just the way that he takes this cartoonish stuff with a straight face almost, but that Will Forte charm, it just works so well for me.
Yeah, it's at no point in time is he delivering jokes. He's just delivering his lines, and he's hilarious, right?
Yeah.
And I think, the way that they, Justin, you brought up the idea of them, it's like a buddy relationship between him and Wile E. Coyote throughout the film. The way they learn from each other was something that was very unexpected for me in this, in going into this movie. He's one of the funniest from SNL, and I was just so happy that he's a part of this movie. But we talked about Wile E. Coyote. You could also name probably like 7 other names before we get to talking about Eric Bauza, who plays so many characters in this movie. What an insane Canadian talent this guy is. I loved seeing his name in the credits, and then we all laughed because it's like there's like one name for every person, but then like 8 characters next to his name. And I think it's to his credit, every character sounded like what I remembered they should sound like. Like at no point in time have I ever heard his iteration of Bugs and not just thought that that's Bugs Bunny. And I think he should be incredibly proud of the ability to carry forward the legacy of these characters in the way that he has, to the point where it just feels seamless. And that was maybe one of the number one things I took away from his performances in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we saw him at Fan Expo, he sat down and talked about it, and people always ask him how you get into voice acting, and he talked about his experience of growing up watching Looney Tunes and just trying to do the voices to make his friends laugh. And clearly he was so good at it that he turned it into a job. And it's wild to think that he was, again, a little kid who watched it on the floor, and now he's voicing over half of the characters or animated characters in this movie. And it's, again, bringing so much heart and like originality to them. Like they sound so close to what Mel and the original cast used to do. So it's so cool to see how these characters will be immortal as long as there are kids who are inspired by these voice actors.
Yeah. And it's more than just impersonation, right? Like he is adding personal inflections that feel naturally different. Yeah. Like I think he's aware as well as everyone else that like he does this really fucking good. Like he's so good that he's playing like how many characters is he playing? He's playing Bugs, Daffy, Porky Pig, Tweety Bird, Elmer Fudd, Foghorn Leghorn, and Charlie the dog too. He did Charlie the dog. And like Wile E. Coyote doesn't have any lines.
No, he has signs.
Yeah. So like, is he the signs? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
The size, and
sure, the grunts and the there were definitely noises,
for sure. Yeah, there's definitely like some slight noises, but the fact that he can basically be an entire cast of Looney Tune characters, like it's awesome. Even just watching him do all of this press, like you can see he just like snaps into these characters so easily, right? So and when we I think it was Toronto Comic-Con when we saw him, Darcy, and we took a picture with him, and he just like he snapped into like 3 different characters while we were talking. He like said Geekcentric in like in Bugs Bunny voice. I was like, oh man, wish I could have recorded that.
Maybe one day he'll do it for us again. But yeah, no, he's absolutely excellent. I want to shout out Lana Condor as Paige Avery in this movie. We talked about the idea of like, you know, if Will Forte is the straight man to Wile E. Coyote, Lana Condor is the straight man to Will Forte, and I love that her as Paige Avery, she's his niece, I think.
Yes,
or niece?
I believe that's what they said.
I love that she keeps pushing, but for the right reasons, right? Wile E. Coyote is pushing for his own reasons, but she is pushing for the betterment of people and just the betterment, sheer determination to do what's right. And I thought she was such a great companion to her Uncle Kevin, in that she's kind of showing him that he should still have hope, even though he wants nothing to do with hope.
Yeah, again, you mentioned the whole 90s feel of the movie. This kind of doubles down on that with the whole idea of you got your buddy cop, and then someone related to that underachiever is also an overachiever, and he sees the good in things and brings out the best in her family, type like that. So it works really well for this movie. And again, she pairs wonderfully with Will Forte as being that crutch or that emotional support for him to push him to do the right thing. So yeah, I really enjoyed her in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she is the embodiment of the Coyote, like Wile E. Coyote in a lot of ways, like constantly pushing for more, pursuing bigger goals, and just refusing to settle, really, at the end of the day. And she becomes very much a driving force for challenging sort of this idea of not to be comfortable with what you're at. Like you can strive for more, right? Like you can work for more. And I think Lana Condor she plays that determination and energy with just great resilience. She actually delivers on that. So there's a lot of confidence in her performance of just being that kind of person, like believing in that. So she does a really good job at that.
Speaking of great resilience, John Cena, dude, as Buddy Crane. He was pretty resilient in the movie for sure, in his own way. As the heel of this movie, he is awesome. Darcy, what did you think of John Cena as Buddy Crane? And I also, if you could shout out the little thing you noticed about his last name and all the other last names of the villains in these movies.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's fitting when Wile E. Coyote, who's been chasing a bird for going on 100 years now, I think. I don't know when he debuted, but Looney Tunes has been around for a while. The fact that when he finally stands up against Acme, all the lawyers he's facing against or fighting against, their last names have bird names in them, like Crane or Pelicanos, or I think there was a Fisher as well. Like just all these birds were on the board, and it's just very funny to think that he can't get away.
That's hilarious
from birds.
Yeah,
Their greatest enemy.
Yeah.
But John Cena was fantastic. Again, his comedic timing just seems to get better because the way he delivers some of these lines. There's a specific scene in the movie that he shares with Tweety and has some of the,
literally
the
the
greatest.
same thing. I was like, we got to talk.
The greatest scenes from his performance here, and I got to wonder how many takes it took for him to do that with a straight face, because he does it so well and so sternly while sounding like Tweety, and that's all I can really say. But yeah, he's just fantastic in this movie.
From everything I've heard about John Cena as an actor, it was probably one take. Like that's from what I've heard of his other times, kind of doing these sort of things. It was maybe
he's a
one
wrestler,
take.
but he
so
has
good.
experience performing as a wrestler, right? Like,
He's
especially
a live performer.
and especially like being a heel, like that served him really well in this character, right? Like he was a prick. He was a corporate lawyer. He was funny when he needed to be. Like that Tweety scene was hilarious. But he was wonderfully slimy at the same time, and the kind of antagonist you enjoy his presence, because he is the worst person in the room.
Yeah.
I think again, it's Cena as he's becoming better at this acting. He's just committing to these characters fully, right? Like he's committing to this character of Buddy Crane, and that smugness without losing the comedic charm that makes him so entertaining to watch, and just perfect for the role of Buddy Crane.
Yeah. He was definitely more charming than the name I'm about to bring up, but I kind of reminded me a little bit of Clifford Cliff Vandercave in the Flintstones, played by Kyle MacLachlan. Kind of just that really douchey, but like handsome, but like slimy, charming. But charming.
Yeah. And everyone wants to be like him.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Everyone idolizes him.
And he's he's the best at what he does. Yeah. And I just love the idea that like he's an old college, enemy of Kevin's. And I just think, his ability to just kind of be one of the funniest people in the scene and chew up the scene, whether you're endeared to him or whether you want to drop a piano on him, it's all the same. And he's so good. Yeah, the intense conversation with Tweety Bird. Oh, it's a standout. It's a standout in the movie. We were all dying of laughter. Another actor that was great in this, that was, you said everyone wants to be like Buddy Crane, has got to be Bill. And you said Darcy's last name's Pelicanos. I think
so, yes. Yeah.
PJ Byrne was in this, and I think Justin, you and I might know PJ
from The Boys,
mostly from The Boys, as his role as Adam Burke, the douchey, self-serving film director.
The Zack Snyder inspired director.
Snyder inspired. He is such a great henchman for John Cena's character. Like, think almost like he's kind of like Dwight, but with significantly less personality of his own, because his personality is just trying to be Buddy Crane, and even down to what he's wearing, like the exact same outfit, but like Darcy, you pointed out, like it's like everything's a little smaller because he's smaller of a human being. I just honestly, some of the biggest laughs in this theater were from him at his expense. And I think the best parts, honestly, are when he and Buddy laugh, or all the lawyers basically are laughing at Kevin's expense. It's just that really thick, evil, like corporate laugh that's just so well done. Darcy, what did you think of PJ Byrne?
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, going back to that 90s movie, we had the super over-the-top, slimy but charming bad guy, and now you have his suck-up, kind of just funny to laugh at in everything he's in, wants to be him, sidekick, and it's a perfect marriage. And again, I've seen PJ in a lot of stuff, and he seems to lean in towards these roles because he just does them so well, where he can make himself the joke while just trying to be so... I don't know. He's very good at it. He's again, some of the best laughs in this movie are from him.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this story without talking about the story like we like to do. Obviously, we're not going to give away any big
We're not going to give
spoilers.
anything big, but it's like you pretty much know the story if you've seen the trailer. So it's like we're not gonna give away key moments.
It's literally in the name.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's literally.
Well, okay. Listen, don't sue me then, Justin. What did you think of the story in Coyote versus Acme?
The story takes on an entirely new meaning because of what happened with this film itself. Like Warner Brothers shelved the completed movie in I think it was 2023, with the intentions of just taking it as like a tax write-off rather than releasing it. And, following a major backlash from filmmakers and just the wider creative community and fans in general who campaigned to see it, the studio allowed the movie to be shopped elsewhere, and Ketchup Entertainment ultimately acquired its worldwide distribution rights and gave it a path to the theaters. And that history makes this movie satire almost unbelievably fitting. Like this is a story about an enormous corporation refusing to accept responsibility, concealing uncomfortable truths, and protecting its profits at the expense of people it has harmed. In real life, the movie itself became a truth being contained by a corporate entity and denied the opportunity to be seen. Like it's very funny how this is all kind of come around in a way.
Based on a true story.
To a degree, right? But it eventually escaped because Warner Brothers found a way to make money by selling it. But like Coyote, it still got back up after being knocked down. Like it didn't just take it, right? So like we were talking about this idea too. Like we wondered whether the filmmakers might add anything to acknowledge everything that had happened. But the reality is that they didn't need to. Like the irony was already embedded in this movie. And like it's just funny how life imitated art in some ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like its satire became sharper, and simply because real life began just reflecting the story that was happening on screen. So I think from that angle of like just looking at this story, like it's incredibly funny how full circle it sort of came with it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the story because, again, looking at the poster for this, it's Wile E pushing a rock, the big bomb up a hill, very much the Sisyphus allegory that he is so clearly related to and has always been. So it's really neat that this story plays with that and it kind of shows how this allegory can extend to other things outside Wile E in this movie and apply to Kevin Avery and all the others in this case in general. It's really neat. And again, the story behind it and outside the movie just adds to it. Like you're saying, Justin, it's almost too good how well this addresses the issue without it. Again, don't know if that was planned to or not, but it just works really well. And while it is not the most complicated story, it does a really good job of telling the story it was set out to do. So I really enjoyed it.
And the movie moves. Like the movie's only an hour and 43 minutes long, and it never feels like it's overstaying its welcome, right? And I think it's one of those things where I think this movie could have easily fallen into feeling maybe a little too repetitive or kind of the jokes could have gone on too long. But I felt like every time that I laughed, the next time I laughed, which wasn't that far away from the previous time I laughed, I was laughing just as hard. And I think we were in an audience filled with press folks, and there was a lot of laughter coming out of that theater. And I just felt like they never overdid anything. The story is really charming. It goes from that like idea of, you brought up the idea of Sisyphus. I also think David and Goliath is a big sort of element to this story. And I just think the slapstick jokes, they did hit hardest earlier in the movie than they did later in the movie, but the movie is so smart with its humor and the dialogue specifically throughout the entirety of the film that it just always stays so consistently funny. And I think even if there are nitpicks to this story in any way, I would have to dig deep past all of the laughs and smiles in order to find them personally. But yeah,
I think to the point of what you're saying, like it really does decide to go deep with its themes, right? Like we were talking about like the hard work, the idea of ambition, perseverance even, and just continuing to like get up when people just keep pushing you down, and just to carry more of that, like just to carry on. I think framing Kevin and Wile E together as sort of opposite ends Do you know what I mean? Of a spectrum where one is trying so hard, Wile E is trying so hard, he never gives up. And then you have Kevin on the other end who's just like, whatever, man, like let's just coast, right? And finding middle ground with a character like Paige to kind of bring them both together in some ways, right? I think it was done with a sense of thoughtfulness. And I think it also, in a lot of ways, though, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like it gives a lot more emotional weight to Wile E. Coyote's story.
Oh yeah, it brings in the realities, the harsh realities, of his story and of what he experiences day to day.
Yeah, and the fact that like for decades, audiences would laugh at his suffering, every failed plan, every explosion,
every lost tooth,
every fall from a cliff, like it's all punchlines. But this film asks us to kind of consider from Coyote's perspective. None of it is actually funny. It actually hurts because that simple like it's the idea of what he's trying to achieve, right? Like what he's trying to achieve, but that also he never gives up. Like I love how it reframes his endless pursuit. We usually think of Coyote as just a failure because he never catches the Roadrunner, but the fact that he continues trying can also make him actually a role model. Do you know what I mean? Like he's a role model. Like he strives for what he wants. He gets knocked down. He finds the courage to get up again. His defining quality isn't failure. It's perseverance, right? Yeah. So it's like, I really liked what the story did from that perspective, taking a slapstick character and giving more emotional weight and having more of a perspective, especially with like a human character, giving him more perspective. So I thought that was really smart. Like I was actually really surprised at how well they were able to intertwine that and make that work.
Yeah, it feels like these writers were just on a really good tear and just it never stopped. Like it just feels like they were just having a conversation, they were filling in the blanks, and it just never stopped. There have been times where I'm not saying going to compare our stupid goofy ideas that we have when we're being silly coming up with stories and movies and things like that, but I'm sure it felt like that for them. And watching,
I'm sure that's
movie,
what it was though, right?
Like, no, it feels like that the answers just came so quickly to them, and you can kind of get that, you kind of feel that from the way that this movie is written. But yeah, let's get to our final thoughts and what you'd give this movie on a scale of 1 to 5 beeps, as in beep beep. Darcy.
Yeah, I mean, I really had a fun time with this movie. Again, it was really nice to see the tunes back in action on the big screen. And just this story is so fresh and original. And again, the way it reshapes how you can look at Wile E going forward and just going back and watching those old sketches. Because again, as a role model, someone who never gives up is really cool. The comedy it was always working for me in this movie, between the slapstick stuff and just that adult written humor that I love from modern cartoons, where there's stuff in it for adults to get that kids won't get until they're old enough and when they can go back and watch it and get a whole new thing out of that show. So this movie has all of that packed in it too. And then all the Easter eggs. As a Looney Tunes fan, you can find stuff in the background of all these scenes, either a character or just a reference. I mean, the fact that the whole movie is set in Albuquerque, the town where Bugs always makes a wrong turn, is just so perfect. So yeah, this one, and I had a lot of fun with it. I think everyone who's a fan of Looney Tunes should go see it. And even if you aren't, go see this movie because it's a lot of fun. I'm giving this one 5 out of 5 beep beeps.
Beautiful. Justin.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Coyote versus Acme. I think the story behind the story makes it hit even harder than it might have if Warner Brothers had simply just released it. I think that helps to kind of amplify this story. A movie about perseverance had to persevere just to reach an audience. It's that really is the strength of it. A satire about corporate greed that was nearly buried by the kind of corporate decision it's criticizing. Like it all just kind of like works to amplify the story. But on top of that, his history doesn't replace what is on the screen. It really just strengthens it. The animation was fantastic. The performances are incredible. The emotional arcs and the sort of, again, the heart of it all really worked on their own. And the film feels like an unlikely journey, and it's giving us themes that are that are going to sit with us on a more personal level, like that just kind of like reframe the way we're thinking. I'm very surprised by this. But yeah, I'm going to be giving this a 4.5 beep beeps out of 5.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, I agree with everything you guys are saying. I think this movie it's joy. It's so much joy for a beautiful, like, sort of midsummer, almost end of summer movie. I think it's wild to me that anyone would look at this movie as disposable. The level of heart and talent put into it is just, it's great that it's getting to see the light of day. I am interested to see what general audiences think of the movie as well. You know, it's funny, Darcy, because when we got back to your place, your brother Kelly came out to the driveway and he's like, "What'd you go see?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, we saw Coyote versus Acme." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's about, yada yada yada," and it was great. And he was like, "Okay." And I just, I feel as though, it's just, I wonder how this is going to bring people in, and hopefully it brings people in enough through reviews and through word of mouth, because he did not look like he was like totally on board for something like this.
Which is funny because we shared a room when we were younger and we watched the tapes my dad got us religiously falling to sleep. So he was just as big a fan as we were younger. He grew out of that phase, I guess.
Well, we got to get him right back in. And I'm intrigued to see how it does at the box office. But no, this really did work for me. It's nonstop laughs. It's a story that feels like it's for audiences of people who watched Space Jam in the 90s. The cast just nail their roles. The animators, who are the real MVPs, executed on a level that you're so consistently just kept in this world that never shockingly feels like parody. Like, Justin, you're talking about the deeper things that it's sort of showing us through all the goofy, silly, funniness. But no, I had a great time. Go support this movie. I'm going to give Acme versus Coyote a very solid 4.5 out of 5 beep beep. So it's beep 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 beep. That is it for our spoiler-free review for Coyote vs. Acme. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to share your thoughts on this movie or any of the movies or series we cover, well, let me just use my Acme exploding telephone to call Justin so that a piano will fall from the sky and crush him, which has been my plan all along. And if that fails, then he can just tell you how you can reach us.
Well, they can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or they can find us on Twitter X at GeekcentricYT, or on Instagram and TikTok at wearegeekcentric.
Keep in mind, we have a ton of other great episodes covering the latest in movies and TV shows, including our most recent reviews for Star Wars Visions Presents The Ninth Jedi, Spider-Man Brand New Day, which we also have a spoiler-filled breakdown for. We've got our spoiler-filled breakdown for the finale of X-Men 97 as well, and a spoiler-filled breakdown for House of the Dragon Season 3. So a lot of spoiler-filled stuff out there to listen to. We've also got spoiler-free reviews for Batman Caped Crusader Season 2, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, as well as Disney's Moana and Supergirl. Lots more throughout the hot geek summer. It's going to continue to heat up. We've got our upcoming Odyssey spoiler-filled discussion where we actually went to go see the movie in IMAX 70mm. So that will be coming up relatively soon, and you can hear our thoughts on that, and hopefully somehow get a ticket if you haven't already to see it in IMAX 70mm. Keep in mind, we've got our coverage for Fan Expo 2026 coming up real soon, and the Toronto International Film Festival, which we have been accredited for again this year. There is so much to discuss and so much to be geeky about throughout the rest of the year, like Dune Part 3, Avengers Doomsday, and everything in between. We've also got our San Diego Comic-Con recap, where we talk about all the big news out of San Diego Comic-Con, and we've got a special This Week in Geek out for D23 2026, where we're talking about all the huge news from the House of Mouse, as well as all of the things that we have to save up to afford to go see at the parks in the future, hopefully near future. We will definitely give that a listen to, and you'll get to hear our thoughts on all the things we are excited for, and you can get excited right along with us. And if you want to check out any of our interviews, which for this we may have something coming up at some point where we might have talked to some people from this very film, you can check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric, and check out all of our wonderful interviews with actors, directors, composers, and all the people who make the things we love. We'd love to hear from you as well in the podcast app. A 5-star review would go a huge, long way because we are Geekcentric and you can be too. Darcy, Justin, thank you so much for joining me for this beep beep spoiler-free review. And as we say, love ya.
Laters.
Peace.